The afternoon rain pounded against the windows of Riverside Café with relentless force. Inside, the warm glow of pendant lights reflected off polished marble tables were well-dressed. Customers sipped overpriced lattes and discussed business deals. The air smelled of freshly ground coffee beans and expensive perfume. Nora Bennett wiped down the espresso machine for the third time that hour. Her feet ached in the cheap shoes she had bought from the discount store 2 months ago. The soles were already wearing thin. She glanced at the clock. 4 more hours until her shift ended? Then she would rush to her second job at the bookstore across town. The brass door handle turned with a wet squeak. Every conversation in the cafe stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned in unison toward the entrance. A man stood in the doorway, completely drenched. Water dripped from his dark hair onto the expensive hardwood floor, forming a growing puddle. He wore a faded gray jacket that had seen better days, cargo pants with torn knees, and hiking boots caked with mud. An old canvas backpack hung from one shoulder, sagging under the weight of whatever he carried inside. The silence stretched uncomfortably. A woman in a designer suit wrinkled her nose in disgust. A businessman pulled his briefcase closer to his chair. An elderly couple exchanged worried glances. Nora watched the stranger's face. He looked tired, but his eyes held something she recognized immediately. It was the same look she saw in her own mirror each morning. The look of someone carrying invisible burdens. The look of someone who felt out of place in a world that seemed designed for other people. The man took one hesitant step forward. The hostess, a young woman named Jennifer, who always bragged about her wealthy boyfriend, moved to intercept him. Her expression was cold and unwelcoming. Before Jennifer could speak, Nora set down her cleaning cloth and walked quickly across the cafe floor. Her heart beat faster with each step. She had seen this scene play out too many times before. She knew exactly what was about to happen. "Excuse me, sir," Jennifer began, her voice dripping with false politeness. "I'm not sure this establishment is quite what you're looking for." Nora reached them just as the stranger's shoulders began to slump. She stepped between Jennifer and the man, offering him a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "Hi there," Nora said warmly. "You look like you could use a hot drink and a place to dry off. Come with me. I'll get you settled." The stranger blinked in surprise. He had clearly expected to be turned away. Up close, Nora could see he had kind eyes despite the exhaustion etched into his features. His hands, though rough and calloused, were clean. "I don't want to cause any trouble," he said quietly. His voice was deeper than she expected, cultured even though he tried to hide it. "No trouble at all," Nora replied. She gently touched his elbow, guiding him toward a corner table away from the staring customers. That's what cafes are for, right? Shelter from the storm. As they walked past the other tables, Nora heard the whispers. Fragments of judgment floated through the air like poisonous smoke. What is he doing here? Someone should call security. This is supposed to be a respectable place. Nora's jaw tightened, but she kept her smile in place. She had heard similar whispers about herself when she first started working here. Before she learned to style her thrift store clothes just right. Before she perfected the art of blending into spaces where she did not belong, the stranger sat down carefully, as if afraid the chair might break beneath him. He set his backpack on the floor with obvious relief. Nora noticed how he kept his hands visible on the table, trying not to seem threatening. "My name is Nora," she said, pulling out her order pad. "What can I get for you today?" "I'm Ethan," he replied. He glanced at the menu board above the counter, and she saw his eyes widen slightly at the prices. A simple coffee cost $7. A sandwich was $15. Just water is fine. "I can't really afford anything else right now." Something in Nora's chest twisted painfully. She knew that feeling. The shame of wanting something simple, but not having enough money. The humiliation of being in a space where your poverty was visible to everyone around you. "Tell you what," Nora said, keeping her voice low and conspiratorial. "The chef made way too much vegetable soup today. It's going to go to waste anyway. How about I bring you a bowl? And our coffee machine has been acting up. I need someone to test a fresh pot to make sure it tastes right. Would you mind helping me out?" Ethan looked up at her, and she saw moisture gathering in his eyes. He understood what she was really offering. Not charity, but dignity. Not pity, but kindness. "That would be really kind of you," he managed to say. Nora nodded and headed to the kitchen. She ladled out the largest bowl of soup she could find and added extra bread. She poured a generous mug of their best coffee blend. As she arranged everything on a tray, she made a decision. Opening her worn wallet, Nora pulled out a $10 bill. It was money she had set aside for bus fare tomorrow, but she could walk if she needed to. She had done it before. She folded the bill carefully and tucked it under the bread plate where only Ethan would see it. When she returned to his table, she set everything down with a flourish. "There you go. 1 test coffee and 1 leftover soup." Ethan stared at the food, then at Nora. "Thank you." "I mean it. You didn't have to do this. We're all just people trying to get through the day," Nora said simply. She started to walk away, then paused. "And Ethan. The money under the plate. It's not much, but there's a good sandwich shop 2 blocks down. They stay open late. Get yourself something decent to eat tonight." Before he could protest, she was already moving toward another table. But she felt his eyes on her back, grateful, wondering changed, as Ethan ate his soup slowly. Savoring each spoonful, he watched Nora move through the cafe. She treated every customer with the same genuine warmth, whether they were kind to her or not. When a businessman snapped his fingers at her rudely, she smiled and fulfilled his request without complaint. When an elderly woman dropped her purse, Nora helped her pick up the contents without being asked. For the first time in 10 years, Ethan Vale felt something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. Not hope in wealth or success or power. He had all of those things already, hidden behind his disguise. No, this was something different. This was hope in humanity. Hope that goodness still existed in unexpected places. Hope that he might find what his fortune could never buy, Genuine human connection. He pulled out the $10 bill Nora had hidden under his plate and held it carefully. It represented something far more valuable than its monetary worth. It represented sacrifice. She had given him something she clearly needed herself. As the rain continued to fall outside, Ethan made a silent promise. He would find a way to know this remarkable woman better. And when the time was right, when he was certain of her feelings and his own, he would reveal the truth about who he really was. But for now, he would be just Ethan, a stranger who had been shown unexpected kindness on a rainy afternoon. And that was enough. The next morning, Nora woke to sunlight streaming through the thin curtains of her studio apartment. She stretched slowly, her muscles protesting from yesterday's double shift. As she made her instant coffee, her thoughts drifted to the stranger from the cafe. Ethan. Something about him had stayed with her through the night. She shook her head. He was probably just passing through the city. She would never see him again. That was how life worked for people like her. Brief moments of connection, then nothing. 2 hours later, as Nora finished her morning shift at Riverside Café, she walked out the back entrance and nearly collided with someone waiting by the door. "Ethan," she said, surprised. He looked different in the daylight. His clothes were still worn, but he had shaved and his hair was neatly combed. The exhaustion had lifted from his face, replaced by something that looked almost like excitement. "I hope this isn't weird," he said quickly, holding up his hands. "I just wanted to thank you properly for yesterday. You saved me when I really needed help." Nora felt warmth spread through her chest. "You already thanked me. You didn't have to come back. Actually, I wanted to ask you something." Ethan shifted his backpack nervously. "Yesterday you showed me such kindness. I was wondering if maybe you could show me more? About this city, I mean. About how to live here without spending a fortune." "Oh, why would you need that?" Nora asked, curious. Ethan's expression became carefully neutral. "I came into some money recently. Nothing huge, just enough to change my situation. But I've been poor my whole life. I don't know how to navigate a world where I suddenly have options. I keep thinking I'll mess it up somehow. Spend it wrong. Lose it all." The vulnerability in his voice touched something deep inside Nora. She understood that fear. The terror of having something precious and not knowing how to protect it. "Okay," she said, making a decision. "I have the afternoon free. Let me show you a few things. But I'm warning you, my world isn't glamorous. That's exactly what I need, Ethan replied. And his smile was so genuine that Nora felt her heart skip slightly. They started at the bus stop. Nora showed Ethan how to buy a day pass instead of individual tickets, saving $2 per trip. She explained which routes ran most frequently and which neighborhoods to avoid after dark. Public transportation is your best friend, Nora said as they boarded the crosstown bus. A monthly pass costs $60. That's less than what one taxi ride across the city would cost. Ethan listened intently, asking questions that showed he was really paying attention. On the bus, an elderly man struggled with heavy grocery bags. Without hesitation, Nora stood and offered her seat, then helped the man steady his bags. Ethan watched her, something unreadable flickering across his face. Their next stop was a thrift store run by Mrs. Chen, a small Chinese woman with silver hair and quick, intelligent eyes. The shop smelled like lavender and old books. Racks of clothing filled every available space. "Nora, my dear girl," Mrs. Chen called out from behind the counter. "You brought a friend today." "Hi, Mrs. Chen. This is Ethan. He needs to learn about smart shopping." Mrs. Chen sized up Ethan with a glance that seemed to see right through him. Good bones. Bad clothes. Come. I fix." For the next hour, Mrs. Chen and Nora transformed Ethan's wardrobe. They found quality shirts from department stores, gently used jeans that fit perfectly, and a warm jacket that looked almost new. The total cost was $38. These brands would cost hundreds in regular stores, Nora explained, showing Ethan the labels. But here, someone's cast-offs become your treasure. There's no shame in secondhand. Some of the best things I own came from this store. "You have good heart," Mrs. Chen said to Nora, patting her hand. "You teach him right way. Not about money, about value." As they left the shop, bags in hand, Ethan stopped on the sidewalk. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure," Nora said, though she felt suddenly nervous. "Why are you helping me?" "You don't know me. I could be anyone." Nora was quiet for a moment, watching people hurry past them on the busy street. "When I was 19, I lost both my parents in a car accident. I had nothing. No money, no support system, no idea how to survive. I was working at a diner, barely making rent, eating one meal a day." She paused, the memory still painful even after 7 years. "One day, this regular customer, an older woman named Dorothy, noticed I looked thin. She started ordering extra food and leaving it for me. She never made a big deal about it. Just left wrapped sandwiches and fruit with a note that said the kitchen made too much. She did that for 6 months until I got on my feet." "That's beautiful," Ethan said softly. "Dorothy died 3 years ago," Nora continued. "I went to her funeral. Turned out she wasn't wealthy. She was a retired school teacher living on Social Security. She had been sacrificing her own comfort to help me." Nora looked directly at Ethan. "I help people because Dorothy helped me. Because kindness should be passed forward, not hoarded." Ethan felt something crack open inside his chest. Here was someone who had suffered real loss and hardship, yet she had emerged with her compassion intact. How many people in his world could say the same? "Thank you for telling me that," he said. "Where to next, teacher?" Nora grinned. "The farmer's market. Time to learn about real food." The neighborhood farmer's market was nothing like the organic boutiques in wealthy areas. This was where working families came to stretch their dollars. Vendors called out prices, offering deals as closing time approached. The air smelled like fresh bread, ripe tomatoes, and cilantro. "End of the day is the best time," Nora explained, moving between stalls with practiced efficiency. "Vendors want to sell everything before going home. You can negotiate," she demonstrated, approaching a fruit vendor with a friendly smile. "Hi, Mr. Torres. How's business today?" "Slow, Nora, slow," the middle-aged man replied. "Too much rain yesterday? People stay home. What can you do on these peaches?" "They look perfect, but I only have $8, Mr. Torres considered. "For you? £3 for $8. But only you, because you're a good customer." Nora accepted graciously, and Ethan carried the bag as they continued shopping. She bought fresh vegetables, explaining which ones lasted longest, and gave the most nutrition per dollar. She showed him how to check for ripeness, how to spot quality, how to avoid waste. At the bread stall, Nora introduced Ethan to Roberto, a jovial Italian man with flour-dusted hands and a booming laugh.
"This is my friend Ethan,"
Nora said. "Ethan, Roberto makes the best focaccia in the entire city. She exaggerates, but I love her anyway," Roberto said, winking. "You're a lucky man to have Nora as your guide. She knows things even my grandmother would respect." "I'm learning that," Ethan agreed, meaning it more than Roberto could know. They bought fresh focaccia, still warm, and Roberto threw in extra rosemary rolls because Nora once helped his daughter with English homework. Everywhere they went, people greeted Nora with genuine affection. She had built a community through kindness and consistency. As the afternoon sun began to fade, Nora led Ethan to her apartment building. Final lesson of the day: cooking real food. Her apartment was even smaller than Ethan had imagined. One room served as bedroom, living room, and dining area. The kitchen was barely a corridor, with a 2-burner stove and a mini fridge. But everything was spotlessly clean. Books lined makeshift shelves. Plants thrived on the windowsill. Photos of smiling people covered one wall. "Welcome to my kingdom," Nora said, with self-deprecating humor. "It's not much, but rent is only $800 a month, which is a miracle in this city." "It's perfect," Ethan said honestly, and he meant it. The apartment radiated warmth that had nothing to do with temperature and everything to do with the person who lived there. Nora tied on an apron, embroidered with sunflowers. "Now I'm going to teach you to make my grandmother's vegetable pasta. Total cost, about $6. Feeds for people. In a restaurant, they'd charge $30 per person for something similar." She moved through the tiny kitchen with efficiency born from practice. Ethan watched as she chopped vegetables with precise cuts, explaining each step. She boiled pasta, sautéed garlic in olive oil, added tomatoes and fresh basil from her windowsill garden. "Cooking is an act of love," Nora said as she worked. "My grandmother always said that. She was from Sicily. Came to America with nothing but her recipes and her hope. She taught me that the best meals don't come from expensive ingredients. They come from care and attention." "Tell me about her," Ethan said, leaning against the counter. Nora's face softened with memory. "She was fierce and tiny and had the biggest heart. When my parents died, she took me in, even though she was already 83. She lived 2 more years. It's long enough to teach me how to cook, how to stretch a dollar, how to find joy in small things." She stirred the pasta, her voice becoming quieter. She had this dream of opening a bakery. She spent her whole life planning it, saving for it, but life kept getting in the way. Medical bills, family emergencies, other people's needs. She died without ever making her dream real. "Is that why you want your own cafe?" Ethan asked gently. "Yes, I want to finish what she started. I want to create a place where people feel welcome, no matter how much money they have, where the food is honest and the prices are fair, where someone like you could walk in soaking wet and be treated with dignity." She plated the pasta, and they sat at her small table. Ethan tasted it and closed his eyes. The flavors were simple but perfect. Fresh, real, made with hands that cared about the outcome. "This is incredible," he said. $6, Nora repeated with satisfaction. "That's the secret wealthy people don't understand. Money can buy fancy ingredients, but it can't buy this." She gestured at the meal, the apartment, the moment they were sharing. "It can't buy genuine connection." They ate slowly, talking about everything and nothing. Nora shared stories about difficult customers and small victories. Ethan talked about feeling lost in life, searching for meaning beyond survival. He was careful to stay in character, but everything he said was emotionally true. As darkness fell outside, Nora showed Ethan her secret treasure, a notebook filled with recipes, business plans, and dreams. She had calculated every cost, planned every detail of her future cafe. The numbers showed she needed $45,000 to open. She had saved $6,000 in 3 years. "At this rate, I'll be 50 before I can open," she admitted. "But that's okay. Some dreams take time." Ethan looked at the careful handwriting, the detailed plans, the obvious passion. This woman had more drive and vision than half the entrepreneurs he funded through his venture capital firm. She just lacked the one thing that made all the difference: capital. "Now, you'll make it happen," he said with certainty. "I believe in you." Nora looked at him, surprised by the intensity in his voice. You barely know me. I know enough," Ethan replied. "I know you're kind without expecting anything in return. I know you're hardworking and smart and creative. I know you see value where others see nothing. Those are the qualities that build successful businesses. The money part is actually the easy part. Easy for people who have money," Nora said with a laugh. Later, as Ethan prepared to leave, Nora walked him to the door. "Thanks for letting me teach you today. It was actually really fun." "Thank you for giving me your time," Ethan said. "Can we do this again?" "I still have a lot to learn." "Sure. I work tomorrow evening, but I'm free during the day." "Perfect. I'll meet you at that coffee shop you mentioned. The one that doesn't charge $7 for coffee." Teal laughed. "Deal." As Ethan walked down the stairs, he pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "I need you to do something for me." Quietly. Very quietly. In her apartment above, Nora cleaned the dishes and wondered why her heart felt lighter than it had in months. She told herself it was just nice to have a new friend. But deep down, she knew it was something more. Something that both excited and terrified her. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new conversations, new moments of connection. Neither of them could have predicted how everything was about to change. The morning sun cast golden light across the small coffee shop where Nora sat waiting. She had chosen this place deliberately. Mario's Coffee Corner was the opposite of Riverside Café. Mismatched chairs, chipped mugs, and coffee that cost $2 but tasted like heaven. The owner, Mario Liu, was a retired firefighter who ran the place more as a community service than a business. Nora checked her phone. Ethan was 10 minutes late, which was unusual. Over the past 2 weeks, they had met every day. They'd explored discount bookstores, visited free museum days, walked through neighborhoods where street art told stories that galleries could never capture. With each passing day, Nora felt herself falling deeper into something she could not quite name. The door chimed. Ethan walked in, and Nora's breath caught slightly. He wore one of the thrift store shirts they had bought together, but something about him seemed different today. More certain, more purposeful. "Sorry I'm late," he said, sliding into the chair across from her. "I had some business to take care of." "Business?" Nora raised an eyebrow. "Look at you being all mysterious." Ethan smiled, but it did not quite reach his eyes. "Nora, I need to tell you something. Something important." Before he could continue, Nora's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face fell. "Oh no, Mr. Harrison wants me to come in early today. Someone called in sick." She looked genuinely disappointed. "Can we talk tonight? After my shift?" "Of course," Ethan said, though tension flickered across his features. "I'll come by the cafe around 7. Perfect." Nora stood, grabbing her bag. On impulse, she leaned down and kissed his cheek quickly. "See you tonight." She was halfway to the door before she realized what she had done. Her face flushed red, but she did not look back. Ethan sat frozen, his hand touching the spot where her lips had been, a smile spreading across his face, despite the knot of anxiety in his stomach. He had to tell her the truth tonight. No more delays. No more excuses. Riverside Café was busier than usual when Ethan arrived at 7. Through the window, he could see Nora moving between tables, her smile bright despite obvious fatigue. Was about to enter when a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. His stomach dropped. Patricia Montgomery stepped out, all sharp angles and designer clothes. His business partner, his connection to the world he had been hiding from for weeks. "Don't go in there," Ethan said urgently, moving to intercept her. Patricia looked at him in confusion. "Ethan, what are you doing here? And why are you dressed like that?" She wrinkled her nose at his thrift store clothes. "We've been trying to reach you for 2 weeks. The Singapore deal is falling apart. The board is furious. Patricia, please, let's get back in the car. Don't be ridiculous. I tracked your phone to this location. We need to talk and I need coffee." She brushed past him, her heels clicking authoritatively on the pavement. Ethan followed helplessly as Patricia pushed through the cafe doors. Several customers looked up, recognizing wealth and power when they saw it. Patricia scanned the room with barely concealed disdain until her eyes landed on the woman behind the counter. "Miss," she called out imperiously. "Coffee, black, quickly." Nora turned, her professional smile in place. Of course. Patricia tapped her foot impatiently, then noticed Ethan standing behind her. "Honestly, Ethan, this place? You've been hiding in establishments like this?" Her voice carried across the suddenly quiet cafe. Nora's head snapped up. She looked at Ethan, confusion crossing her face. Then she looked at Patricia, who was still talking. "The board meeting is tomorrow morning. Your presence is mandatory. The Vale Tech acquisition cannot proceed without your signature. Honestly, playing poor for 2 weeks? I know you wanted a break from responsibilities, but this is excessive, even for you." The coffee pot slipped from Nora's hand. It shattered on the floor, hot liquid spreading across the tiles, but she did not move. She was staring at Ethan, and he watched her face transform. Confusion became understanding. Understanding became hurt. Hurt became something worse. "Betrayal, Ethan Vale," Nora said slowly, her voice hollow. "Not just Ethan. Ethan Vale. As in Vale Technologies. As in billionaire Ethan Vale?" Patricia finally noticed the atmosphere. "Oh, did I interrupt something?" Ethan started, moving toward her. "Please let me explain." "Explain what?" Nora's voice was rising now, emotion breaking through her shock. "Explain how you've been lying to me for 2 weeks. How you let me teach you about saving money when you probably spend more on a single meal than I make in a month. How I gave you $10 from my own pocket because I thought you needed it." Other customers were staring now, but Nora did not care. Her hands were shaking as she untied her apron. "I felt sorry for you," she continued, and Ethan heard his heart breaking in her words. "I shared my dreams with you, my grandmother's recipes, my entire life, and all of it was just what? Entertainment? Research? Were you going to write an article about slumming with poor people?" "No," Ethan said desperately. "Nora, please. It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" Tears were streaming down her face now. "Tell me, Ethan, or should I call you Mr. Vale? What was this? Some kind of social experiment?" Mr. Harrison emerged from his office, his expression transforming the moment he recognized Ethan, the manager who had barely acknowledged Ethan's existence 2 weeks ago, now rushed forward with an obsequious smile. "Mr. Vale, what an honor. If I had known you were visiting our establishment, I would have prepared appropriately." He shot a venomous glare at Nora. "Has this employee been bothering you? I'll terminate her immediately." "Don't you dare," Ethan said sharply. "Nora has done nothing wrong. I'm the one who lied, but the damage was done." Nora was backing away, shaking her head. "I can't believe I was so stupid. All those things I told you, all those moments I thought were real." "They were real," Ethan insisted, his own voice breaking. "Every moment. Every conversation. Nora, my feelings for you are the most real thing in my life right now. Your feelings." Nora laughed bitterly. "You don't even know what real feelings are. Real feelings don't start with lies. Real feelings don't involve pretending to be someone you're not." She ripped off her apron and threw it on the counter. "I quit, Mr. Harrison. Find someone else to serve your overpriced coffee to fake people." "Nora, wait." Ethan reached for her arm, but she jerked away. "Don't touch me!" "Don't call me. Don't try to find me. We're done. Whatever this was, it's over." She walked out of the cafe and Ethan started to follow, but Patricia grabbed his sleeve. "Let her go. You have bigger responsibilities than one waitress's hurt feelings." Ethan turned to his business partner, and she actually stepped back at the fury in his eyes. "That woman is worth more than everyone in this room combined, including me. Especially me." He shook off her hand and ran outside, but Nora was already gone. The street was crowded with evening pedestrians. She had disappeared into the city she knew far better than he did. For 3 days, Ethan tried everything. He went to her apartment, but she would not answer the door. He called, but she had blocked his number. He sent messages through mutual acquaintances like Mrs. Chen and Roberto. But Nora refused to see him. On the fourth day, Ethan sat in his penthouse office, staring at the city skyline without really seeing it. His assistant knocked hesitantly. "Mr. Vale? The contracts for the Singapore deal are ready for your signature." "Not now," Ethan said flatly. "Sir, the board is insisting." "This deal represents $300 million in revenue," said "Not now." His assistant retreated quickly. Patricia entered moments later, her expression exasperated. "Ethan, you need to snap out of this." "So, a relationship didn't work out?" "It happens." "Move on, you don't understand," Ethan said quietly. "I've been searching my entire adult life for something I couldn't name. I built companies, made billions, met thousands of people, and I felt empty every single day. Then I met her." Finally looked at Patricia. "Nora made me feel human again. She saw past the performance, the wealth, the power. She saw me, just me, and I destroyed that with my lies." "So what are you going to do about it?" Patricia asked, her tone softening slightly. Ethan stood up, decision crystallizing in his mind. "I'm going to prove to her that my feelings were real. That I'm not just the billionaire who lied. I'm the person she spent 2 weeks with. That person was real. How? By giving her what she actually wants? Not money. Not apologies. Her dream." 2 weeks later, Nora was walking home from her new job at a different cafe when she noticed a crowd gathering on her street. Curious. She pushed through the people and stopped dead. The empty storefront that had been vacant for 3 years was transformed. New windows gleamed. A hand-painted sign hung above the door, reading Dorothy's Dream Cafe and Bakery in elegant script. Through the windows, she could see beautiful mismatched furniture, bookshelves lining the walls, and a gleaming kitchen visible. Behind a counter, Nora's hand flew to her mouth. Dorothy. Her grandmother's name. The door opened, and Ethan stepped out. He looked nervous, hopeful, and terrified all at once. "Before you say anything," he started quickly, "this isn't me trying to buy your forgiveness. This is me giving you what you earned through your own dreams and hard work. The cafe is in your name. Fully paid for. Everything you need to run it for the first year is covered. But after that, it's all you. Your business, your success or failure, your dream." Nora could not speak. She walked slowly toward the cafe, tears streaming down her face. Inside, everything was perfect. Not expensive or showy, but exactly what she had described. Exactly what her grandmother would have wanted. "How did you?" she whispered.
"Ow!"
"Your notebook. I memorized every detail. I hired Mrs. Chen as a consultant to make sure the furniture felt right. Roberto is supplying your bread. Mario helped design the coffee bar. Everyone who loves you helped create this." Nora turned to face him. "Why?" "Because you deserve it. Because your dream matters. Because I spent 2 weeks learning what real value looks like, and it looks like you." Ethan took a shaky breath. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking for another chance. I'm just asking you to believe that the man you spent those 2 weeks with was real. That person was me without all the walls I've built. That person fell in love with you." Nora was crying openly now. "You hurt me. You lied to me?
"Oh no."
And I'll regret that for the rest of my life. I gave you $10, she said, laughing through her tears. I gave a billionaire $10 for food. It was the most valuable gift anyone has ever given me, Ethan said softly, because it came from your heart, not your wallet. You taught me that generosity isn't about how much you give. It's about what you sacrifice to give it. Nora walked closer to him. If we try this again, no more lies. No more games. I need to know the real you. All of you. The billionaire and the man who ate $6 pasta in my kitchen. They're the same person, Ethan said. You taught me that. The money is just money. The person underneath is who I really am. And that person loves you, completely. Honestly. Really. Nora reached up and touched his face. Seeing past the expensive haircut and designer, closed to the man who had sat in her tiny apartment and listened to her dreams, as if they mattered more than anything. "Man, I fell for didn't need money to be valuable," she said. "He just needed to be himself." "Can that man kiss you?" Ethan asked hopefully. "That man better kiss me," Nora replied, and he did. Right there on the street, with their community watching and cheering. It was not a fairy tale ending where the prince rescued the poor girl. It was better. It was two real people from different worlds, choosing to build something genuine together. Dorothy's Dream Cafe opened 3 months later. It became famous not for expensive coffee, but for honest prices and genuine warmth. Nora ran it with the same heart she had shown Ethan that rainy day. And Ethan, when he was not managing his businesses, could often be found behind the counter, learning to make the perfect cappuccino. They never forgot the lessons of those 2 weeks. The value of kindness, the power of generosity, the truth that wealth is measured not in bank accounts, but in the depth of human connection. And sometimes, late at night, Nora would pull out that $10 bill. Ethan had framed it and hung it in their home with a small plaque that read, "The most valuable investment I ever made." Because it had bought him something money could never purchase: a real love, a real life, a real future. The end.